The Raiders are sitting on something massive right now, and most fans still think this is just another slow rebuild. Inside that building, though, the energy feels completely different, like a clock is ticking down to something real. They've got Max Crosby still wrecking everything in his path, Brock Bowers ready to dominate from the tight end spot, and Ashton Genty looking like the kind of lead back who can carry this team on his back for 16 games. Then there's the rookie everyone keeps whispering about, Fernando Mendoza, the guy they see as the franchise quarterback who doesn't flinch when the lights get bright. From the outside, it looks quiet. From the inside, it feels like everything is lining up for a serious flip. This new front office isn't messing around with small tweaks. They brought in John Spytek to call the shots, handed Clint Kubiak the offense, and gave Rob Leonard the keys to flip the defense into a true 3-4 look that plays to Max Crosby's strengths in ways we haven't seen before. Every move right now carries weight because the window is opening fast. Protect the young talent, build a run game that controls the clock, keep the defense fresh so they can hunt quarterbacks late in games. That's the blueprint they're quietly drawing. One wrong step in the next few months, though, and they risk wasting the best shot they've had in years to stop being the team everyone overlooks. But the real question hanging over everything is how they plan to unleash that defense without burning it out early. Because if the front seven gets gassed chasing points, none of this works. The shift they're making up front could change how opponents have to game plan against them every single week. But before we get into that, I hit that like and subscribe button for more Raiders and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. Picture this: defenses used to know exactly where Max Crosby would line up every snap, hand down, edge rushing the same way play after play. That ends now. The Raiders are flipping the script with a full 3-4 front, and the biggest winner is Max Crosby himself because suddenly he gets to move like a chess piece instead of a fixed pawn. One snap, he's standing up outside. The next, he's crashing inside to blow up a run. Then he's wide in space where tackles can't lock on the same. This isn't a minor adjustment. It's designed to keep him unpredictable, fresher, and way harder to block for 4 quarters straight. Rob Leonard didn't come in to patch holes. He came to build something that creates real confusion. Drawing from systems that turned other units into nightmares, think multiple pressures from different angles. Fronts that shift right before the snap. Linebackers who can drop or rush on the same call. Quarterbacks will have to guess who's coming and from where, and that hesitation alone can turn good plays into disasters. The whole point is chaos without wearing everyone down, but it only works if the guys around Max Crosby can hold up their ends. Guys like Tyree Wilson suddenly fit perfectly as that long, strong 3-4 end who sets edges and squeezes pockets. Malcolm Kuntz slides into an outside linebacker role where he attacks from a 2-point stance and uses his quickness to slip blocks. Even Tonka Hemingway becomes more dangerous because he can bounce between spots and keep offenses off balance. The catch is this new look demands bodies that can play fast and physical without breaking down. If the front seven gets thin or tired, the pressure drops off and the whole identity crumbles. That's why every scout meeting right now feels loaded with purpose. They need pieces that lock in this system, guys who can eat blocks, chase sideline to sideline, and give Max Crosby room to hunt. Get those right, and this defense stops being just solid. It becomes the kind that dictates games. Miss them, and the offense ends up having to bail everyone out. So the real pressure falls on finding the right help up front before anything else clicks. And the 3-4 only sings when the big bodies up front do their dirty work without complaint. Right now, the Raiders need a true nose tackle who plants himself over the center, eats double teams, and refuses to move an inch on running downs. That's the guy who frees everyone else to fly around and make plays. Names like Lee Hunter keep popping up in their meetings because he brings the kind of mass and power that can anchor the middle and let the edges wreak havoc. Without that foundation, the whole front collapses inward, gaps open up, and Max Crosby ends up fighting for every inch instead of hunting freely. Beyond the nose, the inside linebacker spots demand athletes who can stack and shed while covering ground and space. Players built like Devin Lloyd, Leo Chenal, Nakobe Dean, or Key Walker fit the mold perfectly. Guys who hit hard, pursue sideline to sideline, and drop into zones without looking lost. And this group has to clean up the messes the line creates, chase down screens, and stuff the run when it spills outside. Get versatile, physical linebackers who trust the scheme, and this defense starts looking like one that can dominate time of possession battles instead of just reacting. The staff knows fresh legs at these spots mean the unit plays with speed into the fourth quarter instead of dragging. Here's where it gets tense. If they don't land the right mix of size and quickness in free agency or the draft, the confusion they want to create turns into predictable looks that smart offenses exploit. Every scout report, every private workout right now is about closing those exact holes so the pressure stays relentless. Nail the front seven additions and opponents spend all week scheming ways to slow the rush. Come up short and the defense leans too hard on the offense to keep games close. It keeps coming at them snap after snap and keeps coming at them snap after snap. And Ashton Jeanty looks built exactly for that role. He's the kind of runner who sets the tone early, lowers his pads, and forces linebackers to pay a price every time they step up. The Raiders want him as the workhorse who dictates tempo. But Clint Kubiak has made it crystal clear he won't let one guy absorb every hit in this system. That means building a true committee where carries split smartly, bodies stay fresh, and defenses never know who's getting the ball next. One back grinds it out. The other explodes when the moment calls for it. The search is on for that perfect complement, someone who brings a different flavor without dropping the level. Think a power runner like Tyler Allgeier who can plug gaps and move piles when the game gets physical. Or a guy with Brian Robinson's patient vision who finds cutback lanes and keeps chains moving. Maybe it's the burst of a healthy J.K. Dobbins slicing through creases, or the sudden speed of Raheem Mostert turning short gains into chunk plays. These aren't headline chases. They're about finding runners who block well on passing downs, catch screens without fumbling the exchange, and keep the offense on schedule so third downs stay manageable instead of desperate. The stakes here are massive because a reliable ground attack doesn't just move the chains, it buys breathing room for the entire plan. When defenses respect the run and stack the box, play action becomes deadly. Bootlegs open up, and the young quarterback gets cleaner looks downfield. Get the backfield room wrong and drives stall. The defense spends too much time on the field. And Max Crosby ends up chasing from behind. Nail the rotation, and every fake, every handoff, every motion starts pulling linebackers forward in doubt. That doubt is exactly what turns a solid offense into one that controls games from the opening kickoff. So the real pressure now shifts to who they pair with Ashton Jeanty to make sure the run game never skips a beat. Clint Kubiak keeps circling back to one quiet piece that can flip the entire feel of this offense. A fullback or tight end hybrid who lives in the trenches and loves contact. This isn't about flashy touches or highlight reels. It's about a guy who leads blocks through the hole, pancakes linebackers on the edge, and turns short yardage situations into automatic first downs. Players like Riley Nowakowski or Alec Ingold come to mind because they bring that old school toughness without needing the ball every drive. When defenses see that kind of hammer coming downhill, they have to commit bodies to the box early, and that's when the field starts stretching wide open. The magic happens in the ripple effect. Safeties creep closer to stop the run, corners get pulled into tighter coverage underneath, and suddenly one-on-one matchups appear on the outside where speed can burn. That extra defender in the box gives the play action fake real teeth because linebackers hesitate just long enough for windows to crack open underneath. Tight ends like Brock Bowers become even more dangerous when safeties can't cheat deep, and the passing game starts clicking without forcing throws into traffic. A committed fullback doesn't just move chains. He wears down the secondary's confidence play after play until they start second-guessing every alignment. Lose this element and the run game stays predictable. Defenses sit back comfortably, and the offense grinds through longer counts than it should. Add the right hammer, and every motion, every shift, every handoff carries extra weight because opponents know punishment is coming. That punishment is what creates space for the big plays later. The staff understands this better than most, which is why their combine focus and free agent whispers keep drifting toward those bruising role players who make everything else click smoother. Get this spot right, and the ground attack doesn't just support the plan. It becomes the engine that pulls the whole offense forward. The Raiders' offense still misses that one outside threat who stretches the field and forces defenses to play honest deep. Without a true number one wideout, Brock Bowers becomes the default focal point, which is great until teams start shading coverage his way and daring the rest to beat them. That's why the name Brian Thomas Jr. keeps surfacing in trade talks. A tall, explosive receiver out of Jacksonville who already flashed serious number one potential with his ability to win contested catches and burn past corners on go routes. Landing him would instantly give this passing game a vertical dimension that changes how coordinators have to scheme every week. The price tag, though, is the real gut check. Jacksonville isn't giving him up for pocket change, probably asking for a second-round pick or better. And the Raiders still have needs piling up on the offensive line, plus more defensive depth to chase. Cheaper paths exist with in-house pieces like Jack Beck and Dante Thornton Jr. continuing to develop, or circling back to guys like Alec Pierce who can win on the boundary without breaking the bank. Other names floating around include Romeo Doubs or George Pickens, both of whom bring size and contested catchability without forcing the team to empty the draft cabinet. The decision isn't just about talent, it's about timeline and how much they're willing to spend now versus building patiently through younger, lower-cost options. Every rumor out of the combine and early free agency swings tells a bigger story about their mindset. Chase Brian Thomas Jr. hard, and it signals they're loading the deck around the young quarterback to attack deep immediately, betting on splash plays to accelerate the climb. Hold the picks and focus on line help or secondary pieces, and it screams long-term vision, letting Clint Kubiak grow the room organically while the core pieces mature together. That choice will echo through the entire offense because a dominant outside receiver doesn't just catch balls. He pulls safeties away from the middle and creates easier windows underneath. Miss the mark here and the passing game stays safe but limited. Hit it right, and suddenly the field feels twice as big every snap. John Spytek dropped a line at the combine that still echoes through every Raiders conversation, explaining exactly why he refuses to toss a first-year passer into chaos without real backup. He wants protection that actually works, a run game that keeps drives alive, and a defense tough enough to win low-scoring battles, so the kid never has to chase 30-plus points just to stay relevant. That mindset shifts the entire quarterback picture from talent alone to timing and support. Rush it wrong and the investment cracks under early hits and bad habits. Get the surroundings right and the growth happens cleaner, faster, with less scar tissue. The bridge name they choose right now sends the loudest signal about how patient they're willing to be. Bring back Derek Carr and you get a guy who already bleeds silver and black, knows how to run precise timing routes in a system like Clint Kubiak's, and can steady the huddle while teaching the finer points without ego getting in the way. Land Kirk Cousins and the room gains one of the sharpest pocket passers alive. Someone who thrives in rhythm-based attacks and has posted elite numbers in setups that look a lot like what's coming. Go with Joe Flacco, and it's all about grit, veteran savvy, and a low-risk arm that has seen every blitz and coverage twist without flinching. Stick with Geno Smith, and the familiarity stays intact. The roster chemistry holds, and the competition feels organic instead of forced from outside. That single contract decides more than depth chart order. It tells the locker room how serious the staff is about competition versus protection, how quickly they plan to hand over the keys, and whether this regime is chasing quick wins before the rebuild finishes or betting everything on the long game. Pick aggressively, and it hints at stealing games now while the defense catches up. Lean cheap and short-term, and everyone knows the plan centers on the moment the young passer steps in for good. The tension builds because fans and players alike will start counting days the second training camp opens. How long can they keep the bridge up before the pressure to let the future play becomes impossible to ignore? Fernando Mendoza isn't walking into this league as some untested college kid hoping to figure it out. He's already proven he can handle the brightest lights and loudest crowds without losing his edge. National champion, Heisman winner, the guy whose teammates talk about him like he's the standard everyone else has to reach. Aiden Fisher, a linebacker who lived through those high-pressure moments, didn't rave about arm talent first. He pointed to how Fernando Mendoza lifted the entire room's leadership level, stayed calm in fourth quarters when noise drowned everything else out, and made tough calls look routine. That's not manufactured buzz. That's real proof from people who shared the locker room and the field with him. Watch the tape from games like that Penn State road trip, and the poise jumps off the screen. He stepped into hostile territory, smiled through the chaos, and attacked defenses that wanted to rattle him off his spot. Comparisons to Joe Burrow feel fair when you see the same unflappable demeanor under fire. While his floor sits comfortably around Jared Goff or Kirk Cousins' levels of consistency and decision-making. The question isn't whether he has the tools, it's whether months on the sideline watching a veteran really teach him more than live reps would, especially when he's already dealt with NFL-caliber pressure in college stadiums packed with scouts and doubters. Sideline time buys protection, sure, but it also risks delaying a player who looks mentally locked in from day one. Everything the Raiders do this spring circles back to him. John Spytek watching how he commands a room at the Combine, Rob Leonard hunting front seven help like Tonka Hemingway and Lee Hunter to keep the defense dominant, Clint Kubiak eyeing backs to pair with Ashton Genty for balance. Rumors of aggressive moves for pieces like Brian Thomas Jr. hint at loading up fast, while quieter focus on trenches suggests patient building. And that split reveals their true bet. Push hard now with a loaded supporting cast, or stack the foundation and let Fernando Mendoza take the reins when the timing feels unbreakable. Either way, the clock is ticking louder every day, and the Raiders' next chapter starts the second they decide how to unleash him.